All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And you're just gonna do a quick in transit. There was an article that I came across, and I think it was basically in the EU. I forgot. Let me see. Maybe I might be able to pull it up, but I forgot the exact location. But there was an EU country where the new head of border patrol or border security, or that whole section, basically came out and said his job is pretty much going to be to do the reverse. He doesn't see the need or the point in restricting people that want to come in. Or migrants should have the free access. Okay, I think the headline is Europe's top border guard calls for open borders. Okay, and when you read the article, he's basically, it's that same rhetoric of, just allowing migrants to be able to come in, and that's it. What's the point in stopping them on their way in? Now, as I was reading that article, an interesting thought came to mind, which was, this is happening in Europe, or like this article is based on Europe, and the same thing is basically happening now in the U.S., which is what is causing this drift, this rift, this tension that keeps on increasing, by the way, between Texas and basically the federal government. Which, let's see where that goes, right? Maybe that might escalate to some point where it just gets, it just goes overboard. But basically, Texas is trying to put, at least according to the news we're getting, right, that Texas is trying to control the border situation, as they call it. Meanwhile, you have the federal government that is basically, I think a court ruled that I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the favor of the federal government. But basically, they're trying to make it easily accessible for anybody to just get through the border, while here Texas is basically trying to do the opposite of that. They're trying to say no, that you can't do that. And this is causing this back and forth that's been there for a while now. However, as I was reading this article, the thought came to mind, which is, this is very interesting why they are pushing for this. All of a sudden, after all these years of all these things happening in the world, now you have, like in the U.S. and certain other areas, where this is like the new push of just dropping your walls and your borders, and just basically having open border access to anybody that wants to come into the country. And what I was thinking of was, if it's not happening in just the U.S. and it's happening in other parts of the world, as we've seen, different information has come out concerning what kinds of people or what manner of people are coming across the border. Yeah, you may have some that are actual immigrants, but you also have some that may be T's, right, as they call them, terrorists, and you also have some that may be agents, planted to invade, to come into the country. But at the same time, you can also have those UN troops coming in. All right, because the UN troops are not isolated or specific to just one country. So you could have these UN troops coming in, getting ready for a particular situation. And this is just, like I said, just thinking out loud, because there are certain situations where when whatever goes down, whatever's set to go down, when it goes down, you need to have like rapid deployment, right? And in a case like that, it's easier if you already have troops within the country, okay? Or you obviously you can have agents. The point is, they can do whatever it is they want to do. Now, what's recently come to light is that the federal government or these governments have been contracting and dealing with NGOs to bring in these people into the country. So the question that should be going through your mind is, why now of all times? What's getting ready to happen? Why all of a sudden is this becoming a hot topic, along with other things in the news? Okay, But all of a sudden, it's just like throw open your border and just allow anybody in. That's very suspicious. It's like it gets you thinking, like, what exactly is getting ready to go on? But I'm sure that as time goes on, and as we continue to watch, as these prophecies unfold, something is bound to go down. And that's going to eventually tie back to all these different things that we're seeing. Because the whole point of gradualism is that when these elites move, or they move certain pieces on the board, right? Like if you're playing chess with somebody and they're moving one side of the board, they're pushing on one side of the board, your attention goes there. Okay? And you may think that they're setting up moves for that side of the board because that's where they keep pushing. So you may think that if they move a pawn over here, then they're getting ready to do something as a continuation of moving that pawn. But the way these elites move is they may move a pawn on the right side of the board, and then they may go to the left side and then start moving other pieces over there. So now you're thinking, okay, are they setting up for the left side or are they setting up for the right side? But the whole goal is to set up for the right side. However, they don't move just right after another. Like they may do one thing over here, and then they may do something completely unrelated to it, at least as it would seem on the surface level, something completely unrelated to it. Then they may come back and do something over here. Then they may go and do something over there. And you're thinking, all right, this is leading up to this. They're setting this up for that. But they're gonna take their time. So eventually, some people forget about whatever they did. You expected something to happen right after, and nothing happened. So eventually, you kind of forgot about it. Then they did other things and gave different cover stories. When I say other things, I'm talking about events. Like a pandemic is an event. All these things going on, the whole situation with Israel and the war over there in the East and the Red Sea and all of that. These are all events that are happening. And keep in mind, there's always a method to the madness. Things that may seem scattered, like unrelated, they're all related, in some way, shape, or form. So the point is to say that you may see the situation going on with the border. You may anticipate that something is going to happen immediately out of it, and something might or something might not. But maybe later on down the line, some event goes down, and then when you dig deep and trace it, it leads back to this border situation, and you realize this is why they kept pushing to let all these people into the country and where the different countries. So it's all tied in, and that's why the scriptures tell us in the book of Ephesians, the 5th chapter, right? It's a very good precept. I like going to that precept because it's very great advice. Okay, in Ephesians 5:15, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. See, and when it says walking circumspectly, it means how you live, how you conduct yourself. Don't just roam about, just ignorant to things. Like you understand the kind of time that you're living in. Look, let me give you, let me give you a surface level example, right? When like the stereotypical example, when a so-called white woman, for example, is walking through the hood, or she's on her way home from work and it's at nighttime and she sees a group of black men walking across or walking in her direction, right? Stereotypical example. And then she clenches her purse. She clenches her purse. Why does she clench her purse? Because in her mind, she understands what time it is, right? Based on her thought process, based on what she's seen before, based on what what events have occurred, how the stereotype is built. She's in her mind anticipating that there's a chance, right? There's a chance that maybe they might try to rob me, or maybe they might try to just grab my purse and run. All right, and I'm just being candid, But she thinks that, so she clenches onto her purse. And the reason I'm bringing that example is she's moving in a way that is to match the environment that she's in, because in her mind she's like, I'm ready. You're gonna have a fight with this old lady. So when you go back to this precept about walking circumspectly, understanding the time you're living in, understanding the situation that we are in, with pretty much being on the brink of shit hitting the fan, There's a certain way you got to behave, right? The spiritual purse clenching, all right? Meaning you got to be prepared. Don't just walk about as a fool, not being aware of your surroundings, not being aware of your situations. Now isn't the time for we outside energy. Okay, now isn't the time for just going about as a busybody, because judgment is going on left and right. People are pretty wild nowadays. You could get deleted. Okay, by deleted I mean taken back to the spirit world, just like that, and not having it even be a fault of your own. It may just be you got caught in the crossfire or something like that. So you gotta constantly be aware of your day-to-day life, your day-to-day surroundings, but also things on a higher level, things that are like world-changing events. So as the scriptures say, Ephesians 5:15, see then that you walk circumspectly. Now, when you break down the word circumspect, it means in the loosely translated, like to look around, right? When you spect or spectate, you're watching or looking, and circum meaning around or circle, right? Round. So when you watch something or when you're being circumspect, you're looking all around. It doesn't mean that every 2 seconds you stop and do a 360 scan of wherever you're standing. All right, but it just means being aware of your surroundings, of the situation that you're in. As it says, not as fools. A fool is one that is without knowledge, ignorant. Okay? And a fool earns that reputation of a fool because they remain ignorant. Everybody at some point has been a fool. Before you knew something, you were ignorant of it. But the problem is when you stay a fool, when you don't put the effort in to go and be, learn about it, so you're not ignorant of that matter anymore. Okay? So as it says, not as fools, but as wise. So we got to move with wisdom, right? The scriptures tell you a wise man, a prudent man, foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are destroyed. So you anticipate, you look ahead, you're thorough about things, so you don't end up putting yourself in a situation that could come back and affect you negatively, all right, or negatively. Verse 16, redeeming the time because the days are evil. You see, you're redeeming the time because the days are evil. We're living in evil days. So, as the scriptures also tell us, I believe this is in the Apocrypha, in the book of Ecclesiasticus. It might be the 5th chapter, and around the 15th verse or so, if I'm not mistaken. But it talks about not being ignorant of anything in a small or great matter. Because what are big matters? Big matters are small matters that got out of hand, right? So, not being ignorant in anything in a small or great matter means you got to always be watching, knowing how these devils move, knowing what their track record is. You can't put anything past them. To say, oh yeah, but that's a little far-fetched. I mean, hey, you never know. So you always gotta stay alert and redeem the times and know that now's not the time to be playing games. And as you stay alert, you get your house in order. Right? There's the angel, as the angel told Ezra, 2nd Ezra, I believe 14, let go of the mortal thoughts. Okay, you have to let go of those mortal thoughts. Mortality is death. Okay? A mortal is subject to death. You don't want to have mortal thoughts. That leads to doubt. That leads to weakness. Okay, you don't want to have that. So you want to get your house in order, get your mind right, and continue to stay in the spirit to increase your faith, because that's going to be the driving factor in these times. Step one, yeah, you're learning, you're staying up to date, you're being knowledgeable, you're doing what you got to do, so you can prepare for what happens. But when shit hits the fan, then what? Then you go to step 2. Right? Okay, what's happening? And now you find out what's happening, but then what do? That's the next step. Oh, what's happened? Oh, there was a fire over there. Okay, so what would you do? Or what do we do? Or, oh, what's happening? Oh, there was an accident on this road, so the road is closed. Okay, now I know what happened. Now I know why the road is closed, but now what do I do? So there's always the 2 factors in there. You want to know what's going on, but also what to do when that time happens. And that's where the scriptures come in. And really that's why this world is in for the world is in for a world of hurt. A lot of people are in for a world of hurt because all these things, they don't care. You know, they live their life as if it's just going to continue forever, as if tomorrow's going to be like today, and then like yesterday, like nothing is ever going to change. And the scary thing about it is, you, the only what's that saying? The only constant in life is change. Everything changes, and you've been living through change. The past, you know, within the past decade, there's been so many changes that have happened in people's lives that have changed their perception of what is normal and what is not. And yet they still think that everything is going to continue as it is. And that's why a lot of people are going to get caught up when ultimately when shit hits the fan, because they're not prepared. You know, they're not prepared, and they don't want to be prepared. And the saying goes, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Okay. So let me finish it off on this verse 17. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Exactly, because when you understand the will of the Lord, you're able to behave in a manner that pleases the Lord. And if you can behave in a manner that pleases the Lord, then you have a chance of being delivered, of the Lord having mercy on you in these evil days to come. Okay, but yeah, anyway, that's just the thought that I had, you know, just with this whole border situation. There's something, okay, there's something that's going on. You know, there's something related to this. It's unusual that they're just all of a sudden pushing for this. But anyway, we're gonna watch and see, as Yahweh Shai said, right? Watch as well as pray. You know, and measuring the times diligently and see what goes on. But definitely the Lord is turning things up very quickly. All right. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.